Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to episode 15 of Young Justice, Humanity. We begin this episode in Teomaro's secret lab on October 10th, where we see that the scientist has disassembled Red Tornado, and he's turned off Red Tornado's voice box as well. But he's also praising Red Tornado for making their family reunion possible. Bromstick is looking over Red Torpedo and Red Inferno while this is going on, by the way. We then cut to Mount Justice, where Black Canary is acting as the current supervisor of the Young Justice team, though Captain Marvel is there and he's getting beverages and food for Kid Flash, whose arm is in a cast because of the fight with the Injustice League in the previous episode. Soon enough, though, Zatanna arrives and he brings an authorized guest with him as well, his daughter, Zatanna, voiced by Lacey Chabert. Robin, in particular, is quite excited to meet Zatanna, and then he also introduces her to his teammates as well. And he's also curious if Zatanna will be joining them on the Young Justice team, but Zatanna is quick to say that they shouldn't get too hasty, and this is just a visit. The Young Justice team then go into a psychic conversation with each other about how there are many Justice League members around them or supervising them in the cave ever since Red Tornado had disappeared in the events of Homefront. And they also recognize that they haven't heard anything else about Red Tornado since the whole search for him started. Zatanna manages to quickly figure out that they're having a psychic conversation, but she doesn't know if it's cool or if it's rude. Superboy admits they were psychically conversing about the search for Red Tornado and they haven't heard anything about it. Black Canary says that that's the Justice League's top priority and reiterates that the Young Justice team are not to engage in the search, as Red Tornado is the Justice League's responsibility, being a member of the Justice League. Zatanna then suggests that they take Zatanna on a tour throughout the cave. Captain Marvel wants to join in on the tour as well, but Superboy convinces him that he should help Wolf out with his exercises outside, and Captain Marvel's all too happy to do that. When they go to a different part of the cave, Zatanna is suddenly in a different outfit than she wore when she first arrived, which baffles the Injustice team, and they question about it before Zatanna quickly says that, Zatanna quickly pieces together that they're going to go searching for Red Tornado anyway, and they admit that is what they're going to do. But some of the members are worried about Zatanna telling the Justice League, but Zatanna's response is she can't tell them if they kidnap her. And so, yeah, she tags along for the ride. And while Black Canary is suspicious when they all leave in Miss Martian's bioship, Miss Martian insists that she's just taking Zatanna on a tour throughout Happy Harbor, and they seem to buy into this. Well, Zatanna is skeptical, but Black Canary assures him that they're good kids. And as far as where they're going to search, because Robin points out that Batman is the world's greatest detective, and he looked at all the logical places to search for Red Tornado. So he says they need to figure out a dumb idea, and everyone turns to Kid Flash. Back at his lab, Teomaro is downloading Red Tornado's memories, as well as, I think he said he also downloaded the memories of Red Torpedo and Red Inferno as well for something. And while they're waiting for this to be completed, Teomaro decides to tell Red Tornado a story about all of the various siblings of the Red family, we'll say. It turns out Red Torpedo was the first of the androids to be created, but he actually did believe that he was human. And then Red Inferno was the next android created, but Teomaro believed that she was too heroic. So Red Tornado was the next android created, and Teomaro made a point to actually have this particular android be aware of the fact that he is an android, or not try to pretend he's human. And Red Tornado did manage to join the Justice Society of America, but Teomaro said this eventually backfired because while Red Tornado was aware of the fact that he isn't human, he still had a desire to be human, and yeah, Teomaro wants to have no Pinocchios, as he puts it. So the newest android is Red Volcano, and he says Red Volcano has transcended the need to be human, but when Red Volcano is activated, he immediately crushes Teomaro, although we see that Teomaro is actually an android, not the real Teomaro, which Red Volcano's a little annoyed about. And Brahm's stick managed to escape at some point after Red Volcano was activated. So, yeah, no humans around for Red Volcano for the time being. So, the Young Justice team and Zatanna, we cut back to them, they're at Bel Rev. They mentioned that Hugo Strange kind of owed them a favor because of the efforts they did to stop the breakout in the events of terrors. So he's allowed them 5 minutes to interrogate Professor Ivo. Kid Flash's justification for this is that Professor Ivo would be Teomaro's rival when it comes to androids, or building androids, and that it would make sense for him to keep tabs on his rival. Ivo concedes that's actually a valid point, but he questions why he would bother to help them with that. And Aqualad instructs Miss Martian to read his mind, but Ivo isn't afraid because he said he's dealt with telepaths in the past. But then Zatanna says a sentence backwards, and suddenly Professor Ivo is Professor Ivo lets slip that Teomaro's lab is under Yellowstone Park, and even Ivo's baffled by this. He's looking down at his mouth as he's talking, and the rest of the team, the Young Justice team, are baffled about this too, and Hugo Strange is not happy about this. So back with Red Volcano, he tells his siblings about what Teomaro's plan was. Yellowstone Park has an inactive volcano, but if they activate it, they can cause an eruption which can eliminate a good portion of the population of humanity, while the rest of humanity, or the surviving members of humanity, end up buried under the results of the eruption. But then he gets a call from Professor Ivo, who doesn't realize Teomaro is not available at the moment, we'll say. But Red Volcano imitates Teomaro's voice to go along with this. Ivo, with Hugo Strange watching him, tells who he thinks is Teomaro that the Young Justice team are on their way to Yellowstone Park. And Red Volcano is preparing for their arrival after hearing this. As the Young Justice team and Zatanna arrive at Yellowstone Park, the team questions Zatanna about her magic, the powers of magic, and Zatanna does explain the rules and limitations of magic, and how even a more powerful or more advanced magic user, such as her dad, Zatara, has limitations too, and can't do the impossible, is how she words it at one point. When they all arrive, the members who have the stealth suit mode on their suits, they activate their stealth suits. And Zatanna uses a spell to change her outfit into a magician-style outfit. So as the 7 teens arrive at Yellowstone Park, Red Volcano instructs Red Tornado, he's fully assembled again, but his voice box is still off, to greet them or to prove himself as a trustworthy red android. So Red Tornado does arrive, and he uses his wind-based powers all around the area, but it looks like he's easily beating the Young Justice team and Zatanna. Red Volcano, though, arrives, and he compliments his older brother on his performance, but he says it is just a performance. We see that Red Tornado used his powers to write a message in the ground or in the sand, telling the Young Justice team to play along with the act. But Red Volcano is now ready to get involved. And Red Tornado leaves for something, or he's trying to do something. So the 7 teens have to fight Red Volcano, and they definitely try the best they can against him. The problem, though, is Red Volcano has Tornado and Torpedo and Inferno's memories, and he has a faster processor, so he's able to anticipate their moves. Except for Zatanna's. Zatanna gives the young heroes an advantage against their fight against this powerful android. Red Tornado returned to the lab, and he has to use outside help to talk because his voice box is still off, and he tries to convince his other 2 siblings to help defeat Red Volcano. And him saying that while they were never human, they were always heroes. Him saying that seems to have resonate with his older siblings. And we do see eventually, yes, it worked. Red Torpedo and Red Inferno agree to help stop Red Volcano. And they manage to hold him down. They pin him down while he's in lava because he manages to get the volcano to erupt. And so they pin him down while he's in the lava. And Red Tornado, he kind of jumps onto Red Volcano to put him under the lava, or to submerge him in the lava so he'll be destroyed. And Red Tornado is willing to join his siblings in this sacrifice, but Superboy saves him. So Red Tornado is spared, even though the rest of the red androids are eliminated. They melt in the lava. Red Tornado is also able to he's able to divert the they hit the pressure points of the volcano, and they divert the smoke, and they divert the smoke and the ash of the volcano erupting, so it won't cause any harm for the planet or the population. So they managed to stop Red Volcano. They then head back to Teomaro's lab, where they're able to reactivate his voice box so they can get some answers about their questions. And they find out that Red Tornado was not the mole at all, whether willing or unwilling on his part. He actually left partially to protect the Young Justice team from any other attacks, but also to search for his creator, Teomaro. And they also question why he was the supervisor for them. He did admit that he was the most pragmatic choice, being an android who didn't really have to have a second life or have a public life to live. But the Young Justice team also think that maybe Red Tornado was influenced in wanting to learn to be more human, and figured he could learn to be more human from the Young Justice team rather than the Justice League. Red Tornado admits he's not sure if that really is the case or not, but he does admit he's come to care about the Young Justice team in his own way. And he also has something else that he wants to do as well. So we see him later on, he manages to find Brahm's stick, but he assures Brahm that he's not going to hurt who he's tending, the real Tiomaro, who is in fact a very old man who's bedridden, in fact. Red Tornado says that while his father was a villain, he still was his father, and he intends to care for him because that is the human thing to do, as he puts it. As for the Young Justice team and Zatanna, they're heading back to Mount Justice, and Robin questions if Zatanna enjoyed her kidnapping, and she did. She enjoyed it. And she says, though, that she's hopes she's not grounded for life. And we cut back to Mount Justice. Zatara is declaring that Zatanna is grounded for life. And the episode ends with Captain Marvel coming back in because it's starting to rain at Happy Harbor, and he questions if the team are going to come out and play. So this episode resolves Red Tornado's disappearance, and we do find out that no, he's not the mole, whether willing or unwilling on his part. And he actually was trying to protect them by leaving and also finding his father. And we do get a little more history about the red androids, and I like that. That was a nice touch. And we did get to hear a little bit more about the Justice Society of America. And like I said, it's a nice touch to learn more about the predecessors of the Justice League. Otherwise, the big other detail regarding this episode was the introduction of Zatanna. And this was the first time Zatanna was played by Lacey Chabert. She actually has gone on to, she's returned to the role after Young Justice. She's come back to play the role in several other different adaptations, and I do like her performance as Zatanna. I like this portrayal of Zatanna a lot, and I do admit it was pretty, I thought it was pretty heartwarming how she kind of got along with Robin really well. It was because, yeah, we see that throughout the episode. Robin and Zatanna really seem to click, I believe is how you'd put it. And yeah, that was a nice touch, I felt. Oh, and Zatanna is a teen, as you probably can guess. Or yeah, Zatanna is portrayed as a teen in this adaptation. And I know that surprised a lot of people because usually Zatanna is known to be within Batman's age group. But if I'm remembering correctly, yeah, I believe Greg Weisman had actually mentioned once that Zatanna was actually introduced as a teen when she first appeared in the main DC comics, and she was about Robin's age at that time. But DC Comics had her aged up to adulthood quicker than Robin when she pretty much became the main magic user of the DC heroes at some point. So that's actually an interesting call, actually, or that's an interesting callback to that. The fact that Robin and Zatanna were actually in the same age group originally. And now that I think about it, I believe, I think it was said that Robin and Batgirl were originally not in the same age group at one point. I think it was mentioned that Batgirl was older than Robin originally, but I'll have to look into that. I admit I'll have to refresh my memory about that. But yeah, I thought that was a nice call. I didn't mind Zatanna being a teen, and actually, it reminded me of the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series that aired on Nickelodeon. They had April O'Neil, Casey Jones, and Karai as teenagers in that show when they're usually portrayed as adults. And to be honest, I actually liked them being portrayed in the same age group as the Turtles. So yeah, I'm cool with Zatanna being portrayed as a teen in Young Justice. And don't worry, that's not the last we see of Zatanna. We will meet her again in future episodes, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But overall, yeah, I enjoyed this episode. It concluded the Red Tornado subplot that started a few episodes ago, and we got to meet Zatanna. So that's it for episode 15. Take care, and until next time.